Just wanted to make another video about some topics. I hadn't made a video in a while, and I'm so paranoid now. I wouldn't say paranoid, but just like really just scared. I wouldn't say paranoid, but just scared to say anything of the past, thinking that it may not even help any at all. Because there's certain things that I remember. And when I say certain things, I'm talking about like, particularly like nothing I'm hiding, but like I remember my friend. He's like my brother. He was my brother. We were very close. And Robert Zarate, who many years passed away in a car wreck. And I remember as a kid, Mary Zarate moved in, and I think with Jacob when he was like a little kid, and they lived at the Zarate house for like, I don't know, I think it was like 5 months or something like that. And I remember Robert telling me that they canceled all her credit cards, and she was like freaking out or something like that. And she was, I guess, trying to get out of debt or something like that. And, I don't know if these videos are probably going to ever reach the healthiest people, and I don't know if it really does help because, I'm trying to add the quality, I'm trying to add the better of my life, that it has importance and it had these experiences that happened, and that there were more people if it did happen to. Because I was thinking this is around the same time, like I don't know if like they started building everybody houses and people were house sitting, and it turns out people were stealing a lot of money from credit card companies. I don't know if several of my friends were, which I said that I believed for a short period of time that that's what happened. I thought that there were several people that were house sitting and got a free house, and they got caught and busted. And since they were changing all America, I guess, they allowed everybody that had been house sitting in their house for whatever time they had been in there, to just remain there and just live there. They get to keep the house. But I don't know if they own the house, but they just get to continue living there like nothing else. But particularly in the people that I knew. And I thought, I don't know if, people were stealing money, credit cards, and got caught, and, they were just changing America. They were helping, everyone was being helped, and then everyone helps each other, right? And I think to myself, I'm like, so I remember like Richard's mother being very nervous with his mother, and they were looking at me suspicious, like something they had maybe got caught in, and I didn't really think of it, but I remember they were like questioning like who must have, because it's like drug deals, I'm not saying that that's not what they were doing, but a drug dealer knows that when somebody gets caught and busted by the police, they know, okay, who around this circle of people told all the information there, to get them caught selling drugs. But I don't ever know. I don't ever know the situation. I really thought that like they were changing the United States, and they gave everybody houses or whatnot, and they're just not telling me. And this is some of the just crazy things that not crazy thing I was thinking. It was just like people were hinting to me, and I thought, it doesn't make sense because, they must have been catching people with credit cards, and, I think about whenever Jesse was selling drugs, and when I was like 15 years old, and I think about Michael Rossiter, who was doing drugs a lot, and I don't understand, like, if everyone got involved in my mom's life to discover the twins and whatnot, I don't understand how is it that so many of the friends that I had, they weren't buying drugs from me. They were buying drugs from a lot of different people, and they continued to then take the drugs to their house, then sell it to me or to other and all my other friends. Me personally, I believe that if Michael Rossiter, for me, this is what I think is a very downfall of so much of this that I thought that was supposed to be some sort of surprise or dream makeovers or DJ careers. I believe that Michael would have never touched drugs. If Michael Rossiter knew as much as he was DJing, and as much as money he spent on records, like on equipment, more than any friend and anybody of all of us, and really wanted to make good memories of it, you could make a documentary just probably on the movies and pictures of Michael Rossiter has of all the parties and DJing experiences. You could make a documentary like the ones you hear, like in New York hip hop, like in the Bronx, and you hear about these cultures type of living. You could make a documentary. Michael Rossiter has enough videotapes, like a lot of videotapes, enough from parties and pictures to make a documentary just around the people of him and the life that he lived. But I believe 100. This is what I honestly believe, since I was so close to him and his family. I knew Jack Murphy. I mean, it's so crazy. I got expelled from everybody, but I know that if he knew that there was a possible chance that there was going to be a DJ contract, like of some kind, he would have never. I think he would have stopped doing drugs. I think he would have stopped doing drugs, and I think he would have taken the approach of more of a professional approach to that there's hope. That there's hope that you're not going to be just DJing inside your room until you just do drugs, because all of us were, many of us were, but I wasn't doing drugs. I stopped completely when I moved into my apartment. I touched drugs a couple of times before my transplant, didn't touch them again. And then I think I did cocaine after my transplant, I think once, and smoked meth once. I did cocaine, I think once or twice. I think I just did it once, and I did smoke meth once, and then I took G once, and then that was it. But I didn't even smoke weed regularly at all after my transplant. Never did. I just didn't like it anymore. Didn't even like it in my early 20s. It just didn't. But I don't understand that if you're trying to give somebody hope, why would you not allow that maybe that there's something that you can make of a career, like the crew that I was in, myself, Eric Quintero, Chris Martinez, Kevin, me, Michael Rossiter, any other DJs, that if there was going to be where people were going to be able to live their dream, why would you allow for somebody just to continue doing drugs? Because besides the fact that other people are, some people, you're not going to take the drugs away from them. And there's not. I mean, there's just not. And definitely Michael Rossiter was one of them. I mean, he was very violent when it came to taking his drugs away. But I don't understand why would because obviously he's entangled, and so am I, with other DJs. Why would something linger out like this? Isn't life supposed to be more? And you have all these celebrities that are throwing $400, $500 million all over the place. It just doesn't make sense, I know so many stories and so many things, Michael Rossiter being allowed to do lots of dope and drugs, at Jack's Pain and Body, and then some guy told me that Jack's Pain and Body, he doesn't really own it. It's 3 or 4 of the people that own it. He just has his name and works there. And I had crazy people telling me all kinds of stuff, but I don't understand that if everyone is, if there was hope, then why would you not want to give hope to the people that are putting so much into this culture, DJing and stuff? Like, why would, you know, because that's what everyone I think was going to do, and unless some of them I was willing to give up the DJ career and wanted to, and I did, to go to school or try to, and it wasn't important to me. Life was more important, and there was more careers and interesting things I wanted to do and But for those that others were around me, it was just working a dead-end job, making whatever, living at home, paying money, and never have a chance to make it big and play in front of lots of people and make a lot of money and buy your own house and stuff. You'll never be able to make it. So it was just going to do drugs and live your fantasy world until a disease or a sudden death happens. And it's sad. I don't understand, I know, in my belief, that, Michael would have never touched drugs. That's my opinion. And if he knew that there was hope, Eric, the same thing. Eric, in my opinion, never would have touched drugs. If they were saying, if he continued, if someone said, you continue doing really good and doing your music stuff and staying clean, and because there's so much that's been put into it, then there is a promising career. Then I don't believe they would have done drugs. I think they would have really took it seriously, especially Eric, but I watch all these videos and you see these people throw $300-400 million, and it just obviously nobody wants to give free money away, but there was so many bad shit that was happening. I see Jesse, I thought it was murder, and it sounded like it was a lie to me, and he was doing a lot of drugs, and other people were doing drugs, and death, the tragedy happened so young, and it's aren't you supposed to think of positive things, and I don't know, it just seems like nobody cares. And even if when you do care, how do you separate, how is it possible you're not going to have some people entirely pay for it, like me? Where you get brutalized because it's like the bigger dog eats the smaller dog. And that's all it is. It's, everyone's fetching out for a better life, and then, you start basically killing each other for it. And that's how it's legendary with every single DJ group, DJ crew, rock bands. You always hear these stories about no rock band has ever stayed together, but very few of them. Very few, just a handful, because there's always arguments and arguments about who does what, and money and all these different things, and change different directions in life once they make it. Or even they all break up after so many years performing, and just, that was it. They don't do it their whole life like everyone thought they were going to be doing their whole life. And to me, I really don't ever look toward me really DJing again. I'm 41 years old. My health, to work as a DJ, to try to play records and play in front of people, you have to spend at least 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, just DJing records and looking up tracks. Just looking for different tracks, you're going to spend 5-7 hours, especially me, because I don't look up any new music. I just can't. Whatever I come across on whatever I just scathe over all the internet, and whatever I just come up, come across some, the internet or, Shazam, and that's how I just basically select tracks. But it takes a long time, and sitting in front of a computer, just going through tracks. And you have to understand the culture, what it is now than it was then, completely different. And you have to understand what direction is the music going now. But does that ever? There's so many complaints. There's not just complaints, but there's so much of a mess of things because, it seems so unfair. You have people that, they work endlessly to become DJs, and there are more DJs in this world than any DJ. If you look at guitarists, violinists, pianists, drum players, every musical instrument out there, including turntables. There are more turntables, double the amount of turntables that were being sold 20 years ago than guitars. And now there's something like registered on the internet, like they have like a website where if you're a professional, like a legitimate professional DJ, and you have a profile. There was an estimated, I think it was like 100,000, and I want to say that's like a low figure number. It was at least 100,000 registered in the U.S. Just in the U.S. This is not just like out of the other people in other countries. There's only, I think in the United States there was something like 30,000 legitimate clubs and bars. And like 10,000 of them were clubs. So like 20,000, it was something like 30 or 40,000. I remember, I think I looked it up, how many clubs are in the U.S. and what was considered a club was 30,000. There's only one Friday and one Saturday for one headliner. And it's a lifestyle that you have to be up all night, you have to have enough energy, you have to, you'll never have no DJs don't have normal families. They don't have families at all. And, it's a very, very different lifestyle. At 41 years old, and all the friends that I had, they're all older than me. They're like 3 or 4 years older than me. It's you're in a hotel, traveling a lot. It's and you're not really considered a DJ unless you produce music. And I don't know anything about production other than just skating. I still haven't made a video on some of the stuff I just learned gradually. But I say this because I'm just gonna brainstorming a lot of the stuff that I was thinking, and I was like, it takes 6 to 7 hours. You're like 6-7 hours a day, like. If I were to get turntables and I were to start DJing again, aside from all the trouble of emotions, aside from all the complications and everything of an artistic viewpoint of it that's going to bring in hardship, and just people mature like to different directions in life like I want to and did. But even if I did I would have to spend about 6 to 7 hours a day just sitting in front of a computer going through tracks to what style and what sounds good, what's a good track, and then you have to figure out which tracks go well together. And it's a lot of work. It's that's all you're doing every day. You're just going through tracks. You don't do anything else, and you get tired. You have to take breaks from that because you listen to music. It's like listening to the same song. You listen to the same song 25 times. It doesn't sound the same. Then you come back to it. Way later. Years later, weeks later, months later, and then it's like, oh, okay, but. It takes a lot of discipline just to even be looking at tracks. the time it takes with the technology they have nowadays is so far sophisticated that the world of playing music is much of a jukebox. A DJ now, in my opinion, unless you are competing in the DMC competition, people want to go see that basically celebrity. So if people were to go see any of us, Michael or, Eric, or Chris Martinez, or whoever, Kevin, you would be going to see the celebrity of that person. That's what you want to go see. You would not go to see the best music in the world because there's DMC competitions. Those turntable lists of the best DJs on any day of the week. It is nothing compared to what it was, and they don't even have records anymore. Everything now is laptop. Everything has been laptop since 2005. I think that was 15. That's 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they completely stopped having there was no turntables at any clubs. I think in 2010, people were making videos of like, oh, I'm doing a special, vinyl set that I haven't played in 20 years. Because even in early 2000, even in 2003, when I was 20 years old, there was hardly any records left. There was there was nothing left. Everything's digital. It takes the amount of technology it takes, like to learn all that. It's 10 times more complicated than it was even 20 years ago, because all the CDJs, like all the CDJs and all the mixers, there's so many different types of things. Like if you've got what do they say, have the DJ M700, I think it is. It's like has all these different colored buttons, and it's a 2-channel mixer, table list mixer, and it's like $2,000. A built-in amp. I mean, it's a real fancy turntable. I made some of the miniature mixer models on some of the DJ setups I sent to friends. That mixer alone, with all the different effects that you do on top of the CDJs and the music you play, you're talking like 2 years just in a bedroom, just learning the stuff. What you like, what you don't like. When you finally figure out, so this is why I talk about so when people want to go to see a DJ, you would be going to see a celebrity because they're famous, and because then they play music. They're a celebrity and they play music, and then they play music for that experience, and you get that sense of that person. It's not anything like it was. It's not anything of when I grew up going to raves, the number of the raves that I went to in clubs, when I went to sneaking into clubs when I was like 16. When I went to these clubs and I saw Derek Carter, or I saw Mark Farina, and I went to raves and I saw these DJs and stuff, and they were playing in front of 1,000 people, and they were like 25 years old or whatever. I always believed and saw them that they had so much experience in playing music that you couldn't have the talent they did, because they kept on learning new things and other things that people couldn't learn, and they had just kept on doing it. But it doesn't work that way. I mean, you got 15-year-old kids that are DJs that are mind-blown winning DMC competitions. I've seen kids that were like 7 and 8 years old winning, scratching better than any of the scratch competitions they have. I mean, it's amazing. So when you see these DJs and they go whatever, you're going and seeing a celebrity. It's not, wow, this person has some sort of musical special, like a Mariah Carey, a Michael Jackson, a Brian McKnight, a Tupac, Biggie, all these. There's this sort of something that nobody can repeat what they're doing. So, and let me tell you, and that's just as difficult as that is. There's a whole new world to how that emotion, how that artistic, what you think you're trying to express. So really, what you're going to see, in my opinion, is a celebrity. That's what it is. You're going to see a celebrity, and people have to like you, because every DJ that plays on records, you're doing nothing else different than any other DJ is doing. And it sucks. It does suck, because there are a bunch of young people that show up, and their DMC competitors always talk about it. They put so much time and belief into culture and of turntablism and dance music, and all of a sudden, you got a 15-year-old kid who's winning a DMC competition because their mom and dad were able to afford, $5,000 turntables and mixers and stuff, and they're 10 times better than that person that had been playing for 30 years and a lot of time in that. So, and they are better. So when you go see a lot of these DJs, you're seeing either the history, you're witnessing the history, and you're witnessing a culture, and you're from that person's point of view. You're going to see a celebrity. There's not anything special that these people are doing at all that nobody else can do, because most of them cannot be outbeat. And so when people like to go see an entertainer, you're going to go see an entertainer. That's what you're going to go see. It's not like, wow, Mariah Carey, like she can sing higher vocal chords than almost any celebrity in the world. Like she can, and Brian McKnight I think was, one of those. There's so many other people out there, but it's very different. I couldn't express enough that whenever I was like 25 and 27, there couldn't have been more of a genuine, and I know, like the feeling of it, just like as hard as my life was, the electronic devices, the stalking, I was like, I want to go to school, and like the feeling of like, I want to go to school and earn this degree while I'm still young, as I know that I could do it. Like I knew how I was sort of graduating from, getting better at academics, and wanted to go to school and do something else in my life. This was not a way for me to say, oh, just because I failed. No, it was genuinely like to have a different way of life and different path in life, and that I had fun DJs, and some shooting in my head, and I wanted to do something else in life, and I couldn't express more. I was, you see these commercials of people going to school and had a job, and they were so happy, or some of them played music, but it was so genuine to learn something that was completely, they had nothing to do with music, and live the rest of my life like that, and not be miserable. I understood still the drama at work, because I had already learned that from my early 20s when I was 25, 27. But I really wanted to go to school. This was not, I'm not lying, nobody's going to believe that I was lying. I really did. I really wanted to. There really was a very deep sense that I wanted to go to school, and to learn something new. There's so much beautiful education, architectural world, there's so many different engineers and, careers out there that, people think that I wish that I would have learned a little bit faster that, but I had so much stress. I can't even talk about it, because nobody cares. But anyway, Yeah, it's a tough world. It's it seems so sad that so many of us were doing drugs, and in our teens, late teens, when we were thought if we knew this could happen, why? Because I hadn't touched turntables regularly to practice since I was, I don't know, maybe 24, 25. It was 15 years ago. Other than that, periodically I'd jam out a couple times here and there at a friend's house up until I was 27, and then when I nearly died, and then I scratched at a lot of these residences to have practice a couple times. That was it. That was it. I mean, in a couple days a week, and I couldn't really play the music because it was too loud for me. But it was I do think of what I could have done with a college degree if I had been comfortable and safe. But these electronic devices were beating me. That I was never going to have an opportunity in life. Just like the relationships, because but anyway. It takes a lot. You have to be very relaxed, comfortable to be doing that, for looking up tracks. Comfortable and relaxed to be looking up tracks every day, because you have to collect a new library of tracks after tracks after tracks after. You're talking, at least 400 or 500 tracks, and there are all those 500, 400 tracks. They all have to be picked out of 4,000 tracks that you're looking out of. And then out of those solid, good tracks that you pick out, then you start to learn and be like, oh, okay, so, but it seems so unfair. One, because we're all going to die and get old, and we all did get old, and we're not going to live very long. Much more, because most of us did a lot of drugs, and I've already gone through cancer. And, everyone that I knew always wanted to have this credibility that because you put so much hours and you put so much time and you went to the clubs, you want somebody to give you something for it. I was standing on the street corners passing out CDs and flyers like I have before. I was going to the clubs and talking to people, which I was. I was practicing on tablet. So was Eric. So was Michael. So was Kevin and all these other people. You don't have anybody to go to say, look what I did. I did more than any of these people, and but you can't prove it. How many people instigate? How many people lie and really manipulate everything that goes about that? How many people say, oh, I did this and they really didn't do shit. They really didn't go to the clubs very much. They were just really good at turntables, But, there isn't a class that you get graded on to say, oh man, you know all the history. Oh, you really know of everything that was going on. You really know the style of, Chicago house music, or San Francisco house music, or New York deep house music, or the house scene and culture. Like, everyone has to go look for a full-time job and make a living, and it seems so unfair on one part that we're all going to die, we're all old, and it's just to go see a celebrity and that you just do get to somewhat experience, but it's nothing, not even a fraction to any of it. It's just basically being a celebrity and putting attention to go and getting paid for it. That's why. That's what it is. And your face, your existence, Your person basically tells a political motion what you're delivering to other people. Like you have like transgenders. You have transgenders that are fucking full-blown wigs, makeup like fucking clowns, getting on turntables and playing in front of like 10,000 people and getting paid several thousands of dollars, way more than that, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, 60,000. I mean, get loads of money playing in front of people. Never, you know, you have nothing. First of all, you don't have anything but transgenders and gays. 100% of them are. 100%. You might find 3 out of the top 100 DJs in the world that are straight, if that. Transgenders, it is completely, it's like Hollywood. It's like exactly like Hollywood. But, you know, it's, but other than that, I really do believe that everyone knew that somebody was going to get like 50 Cent, I guess, or I don't know who's going to get DJ gigs and, DJ contracts. They would have never touched drugs. Like, why would you linger and not tell somebody and just wait 20 years to 30 years to say, oh, whoops, we want to tell you, life is important. Make your dreams come true. We're going to make you play in front of a lot of people and look stupid for a while and play music. And look, it's a dream come true. And, nothing really happens. For 20 or 30 years, and like, these people are doing drugs, killing themselves, destroying other relationships because they're all eating each other alive. And I was basically the rut of the puppy litter. I was the rut of the puppy litter, and being ripped apart and open like a worthless piece of shit. And all these other big top millionaires and celebrities, most of them don't want to have insight because there's so much suffering everywhere. How does your life compare? The political world of all politics, Hollywood, White House, government, all that stuff, all that gets judged by the penitentiary. Have you seen videos of what people are like in the penitentiary living? You have guys that are doing 20 years for nothing. There are thousands of stories. I've heard dozens of stories on YouTube. I watch videos of like prison guards. And prison guards talk about this regularly. Like what prison life is. Like there's millions of people in the United States in prison. You have people like talking about like they're walking, the security guards are doing their round checks and the gay inmates, and they're fucking masking this motherfucker. And he said they'll go in there and fuck with the guards and they'll be fucking each other in the ass and look directly at the fucking security guard. You have security guards talking about the most craziest inmates that talk about like a guy's head's being cut off. This is real life, where they cut off they get these razor blades and they get these like cans of food and shit, they sharpen it out and they cut a human head off in the fucking penitentiary. There's 3 or 4, there's one I remember watching several months ago. A security guard talking about that this happened like more than once, where an inmate is with another inmate, and you got to defend yourself. Get raped, whatever happens, it doesn't even matter. Like nobody's there. It's basically the bigger and smarter person is going to take advantage of you. Your life is worthless there. Talking about he's walking by and you could see there's like 2-3 inches of fucking blood on the floor, and a guy's head cut off, and a guy's fucking intestines and heart ripped out, all intestines all over the fucking place, and there's no weapons in there. The guy's able to do it with a fucking, with a fucking razor blade, not even a regular razor blade, like a fucking piece of wood, or, You hear about inmates being raped, gang raped. You know, ever seen that movie? You know, and it's so fucked up because, like, I recently watched this video, and this is how your life gets compared. That's how, because my life it doesn't have any worth. It's no different than the people that are in there. So if I don't want to go and live a normal life and do with exactly what they tell me in what career, then that's how they view me. Your life is worthless. Because it is. It only becomes someone else's resourceful needs there at the worst. Why is my tears count any more than some guy that spent 15 years in prison for something he didn't do because a bunch of worthless piece of shit police officers did this to him, and it was racist with him. You ever seen that movie? This is a really old movie, American History X, with the skinheads, you know, and the rapes and everything that goes on there. Like, it's so fucked up. You know, like, you watch all these talks about the security guards and what the guards do to the inmates. It is their heads being cut off. There are fucking, you know, talks about stories of people getting razor blades and literally getting 400, 300 stitches across their face because the guy just, like, grabs them and he just starts cutting away at this guy's face. Every fucking thing on this, I mean, he just slicing through, just works on this guy. Y'all do this, you know. I recently heard this video of this guy. This is about the gay community. This is how powerful they are. This is how strong they are. This guy says there's 2 inmates. Remember the jailhouse in prison? That's all gay and it's all men there. Remember, when you're gay, you can get you a boyfriend, you can fuck people, secret relationships, there's all balls and dick you want. That's all that's there. That is a real prison for men that want women that will never get it. For a lot of them. Or won't ever while they're there. That's real life prison for men, not for gays. For gays, it's a vacation for doing something horrific, the same equal to a straight man. And this guy, this security guard says, he's a real short, tiny guy. He's part of the LGBT community, right? And he goes, fights this, like, taller guy, straight guy. And he says that they start fighting, and he says that, you know, you either get one that doesn't want to fight and gets beat up, but he said that these 2 guys, they were really trying to kill each other. Like, they hated each other in a way they wanted to kill, like, they were going to kill each other. It was like fucking ferocious 2 dogs you can imagine. It was to the death they were fighting. There is nothing. They wanted to kill each other. And one of them let him know each other how he felt about the faggots, and they went at it, and he said, this little short guy, he said he pepper sprayed this little short, this short guy was, like, from the LGBT community. And he said he pepper sprayed this guy, and this pepper spray burns your fucking skin. It fucking sizzles. I've never had it, but you hear the stories of. He said that he sprayed this guy, and this guy, he said he ate it like it was normal. This is a faggot. This is a guy who's fucking full blown fighting for the gay community. Doesn't flinch, doesn't move, doesn't get scared, doesn't nothing. And he's the one he gets pepper sprayed. Because they're trying to break up the fight. This one security guard. And the taller guy, the straight guy, he said that the shorter guy, he said he had more balls and more guts to him than there was the taller straight guy. And he said that the guy, he was a little short guy, I mean, he goes, it was crazy to watch. He said even for him, he was like, man, this guy, he said this guy could handle this shit like you couldn't even. I mean, he wasn't. Like, it didn't faze him. Like it was water. Like it was nothing. And he said that the guy after that, and they were fighting for a long time. He said the guy and the short guy said, "Come on, let's fight. Come on, let's do." And he still wanted some. He still fucking wanted to fight. And this is crazy. You could tell You could tell the security guard is talking. He's gay, but they always quote unquote try to make it like it's fair. It's not. because all the inmates, all the security guards are gay, and it's all about race as well, prejudice. Everything is there, and everything everything is. And this guy ends up, and he's like, yeah, they let each other, they finally broke up the fight or whatever. But he said it was because one guy was the straight community, one guy representing and going against the faggot. But he said that this faggot, he goes, man, I'm telling you, and you know what he told about these two guys? This is how crazy. These two guys, these two males, he said, the security guard says this, and he says, one is in for triple murder, and the other one's in for murder. So they both are never getting out. Both of them. They're in there for life. He didn't say which one, but he said one of the guys in there. They're both one of the guys out of the two that were fighting. Didn't say the straight or gay was in there for triple murder. The other one was in for murder. So at least the faggot, whether he was, could have been him. This guy fucking killed 3 people, or at least he killed another person, and that's how violent it is. There's no difference when it comes to how aggressive and violent it is, and what crazy is. And it's crazy, like, to hear these stories of the security guards, like the unbelievable. And you can tell how, like, the security guards, when they're gay, you could tell they're gay. You could tell how they represent, like, yeah, the gays fighting again. Oh, but we got to keep it straight. It's kind of, but they're always in power. They're always in fucking power, and it's fucking crazy because you watch these stories, and you listen to these stories, and it's just like that's all it is there, because that is the worst of all. For a gay guy, you get you a boyfriend, whatever, boyfriends, and that's, many of them do that. That is a real penitentiary for straight men. That is a prison for men. There's nothing there for women. There's no women. There's nothing. Because you come energetically and mentally always around men. Males, not men, I'm saying males. And like what they're doing to me. And it's fucking, I've heard so many stories, you hear a lot of these inmates, and he said, these guys, man, these guys will kill you. These are faggots. These guys will fucking cut your throat open. There is no soft. There's no soft. There's none of that shit. And I've never really doubted any of it, And it's so unfair because you have the gay police officers, and you have so much transgender, and you can't. It's like having nothing but a white force, having white police officers only, or all nothing but black. It's always going to be racist. It's like majority ceases. I think all prisons combined together make up, they said, I think 65%. 65% is all black. Most of the security guards in the penitentiaries are black. You can see how this all, and you talk about the inmates. You talk about so many inmates. Talk about how crooked the guards are. Like inmates that went in there and they're like, they did their sentence, 20 years, 15 years, and they all have the craziest stories about guards sneaking in poison to get to the inmates, making them go through hell. And this is like, and there's nobody. There's nothing. These are full-blown gays that at the highest level of intelligence know how to torture you already in a prison. Like, they tell everybody something else different out in the world, what they're doing in there, and that's not the truth. That's why they, it's fucking crazy. It's so wild because, But, yeah, I thought of it because that's how your life gets viewed. Your life gets viewed if there's a 19-year-old kid gets sentenced for 20 years for killing someone. it just happened to be manslaughter. He's driving drunk or some shit. Like, what, you know, and really didn't do it. You hear these stories, and it's just so. I have a sense to feel of what that is because, having never been around in 15 years, when was it, 14 years now, since I was 28, I've only been around a handful of women that I can even recall. There has only been, for the last 5 years, there's only been transgenders. 7 years, I would say, like 7 years, there's only been like 100% transgenders. Every work, every place, every live, nothing but that. And 100% like gay. The last time I lived with a straight woman was 10 years ago. I was like in my early 30s. I was in my early 30s. I was like 31, 32. It was like, was it before Alaska? Yeah, it was like right before Alaska. And I lived with one heterosexual woman, and that was a woman I lived with that looked like Michaela's mother. And, I only lived there for a month and a half. Other than that, I lived with Christy. I lived with Christy for like 3 months, 4 months. And I was really pleasant, but people started to threaten her, and she had to kick me out because people told her to kick me out in her own house, even though she really wanted me living there. But other than that, it was just really bad. So I understand that some sort of speck of that, because they had me in a prison on top of the electronic devices, beating me half to death, and I spent so much years abused with these electronic devices that they're rewiring me like I'm a robot waiting to die. Even though I eat as healthy as I possibly can, I don't eat meat. I'm eating nothing but like beans and vegetables, beans and vegetables, beans and vegetables. Get some Jello every once in a while, eat a lot of the same things over. I eat none but salmon, like have a piece of fish, beans and vegetables, broccoli, carrots, and all these different vegetables. I'll make some stir-fry vegetables, That's it, and just water. And nothing but pounds and pounds of fruit. I don't have much of a choice. Just trying to eat as healthy and stay alive. Because I'm trying to clean and try, but I'm not allowed to go work out. It's hard because you see how worthless the way that a judge throws somebody in prison for 20 years for something they didn't do, or takes their life away and traumatizes them in ways that, that's how worthless your life is. It's better to dig in a trash can for food than to go there, where you at least can find somewhere else to go and find hope. Because there is no hope there. They will tell you what religion, just like they're telling me, the abuse that I've been going through, I will never stop talking about. I would never have enough said about the torture of what they did to me, if I live long enough. But it's bad. You got these rappers and people that kill, like shooting guns, and so much violence, physical violence, and theft, and dead bodies here, and people robbing people from their casket, friends, and dads and mothers. And here, you want to give somebody an opportunity to then give money to the wrong people again. And you almost have no choice, because how do you know somebody else is going to fucking do good with their money even though they're a good person? Yeah, it must be nice to always be a good person all the fucking time, but there's no justice. There's no justice for the harm and for the things that are so penetratingly deep for what they did to me. And I'm a cancer patient. Frankie went through 10 homosexual rapes. I got raped several times. Things that I did for my mother and brother, that being poisoned half to death several times by Diana, by Miguel. I'm not allowed to talk about poison, about what they did to me, because they don't want me to say anything. It's like they shot me in my guts real bad. And, you know, nobody cares to hear about what had happened to me and what I was sacrificing. It doesn't care. They're just whoever's stupid, who gets lucky enough to have the money being placed to them. That's how it goes. They don't care. They don't want to hear, you know, your mommy crying to your mommy and daddy. Her days are over. You know, you just, that's what you get, and they say who the money, and that's how the glory goes. Especially in my circumstance. You know, there's so much bad out there. So much bad. People fucking, I mean, prisons, like you're kind of, you know, you got people getting cancer in prison. People get cancers in prisons and dying of diseases and shit. You're just in a fucking jail cell for some worthless lawyer and worthless judge and people that did that shit to you. You know, it fucking stummed your fucking life to dog shit, and they're just riding around like Ken Cooper and a police officer, detective, and Sarah Cooper, all like, and nobody wants to punish or believe anything I had to say. They're beating me to lie about what had happened and what they're doing. I'm not kidding you. I'm at my job site and they're behaving like Ken and Sarah Cooper and claiming that, oh, they went after Ken and Miguel. They're lying. I was fucking there. They're beating the fuck out of me to get me to believe that. They are so aggressive to change the story, and they're covering up the rapes to justify me being raped and molested as a kid, that is all they're fucking doing to me over there. And about my dead sister. That is 100%. That's all they want to fucking do. It's so racist that I can't even fucking begin to say, you know, I had, you know, and then when I say it's racist, they'll bring a Mexican person and they'll wish me death. Like this piece of shit motherfucking transgender comes near me, tries to behave like my mother and says, "Sí, y así te vas a pasar," and looks at me crazy and immediately projecting at me, and that's how you're gonna die. You can die, like looking at me like crazy like that. And I just asked this person a simple question about my job, about how to read some of these different tags and numbers. And this is what they do, and then they'll beat the fuck. I mean, it's so. I don't know. It's so unfair. Like, it's not even just this is at a telescope of like, you know, there's no justice. They just take and steal and do whatever they fucking want and make up stories. And they choose to make up stories to make sure that that's the story they want everyone to believe. And they threaten me and harass me that way. They're just waiting for me to fucking die. I'm fucking eating loads of vegetables and fruits and vegetables, and some of the worst fucking. My brother got raped by 10 homosexual men. I was molested and raped. They steal my dad's house, and they have Sarah and Ken Cooper's impersonators charging me at my job site because they want to scare me to get me to say something else. And they're not going to stop until I do. And I'm telling you the truth, what these perpetrators, criminals, and corrupt police officers, detectives, even though he's dead now, he's been dead for a very long time. These other police officers are not gonna give up in saying that, you know, one of their own was a crooked, watching a child get raped like that. And that's all they're fucking doing. Nobody understands the stories when the police officers are, you know, are going against me, and they're inside my fucking house, and I'm 18 years old, and, you know, Marco's on the fucking dinner, standing on the table, and the police officers looking at him with all this, you know, lights and flashing him to see if somebody's abusing him. Lucy's like, yeah, I think it's him. Like, I mean, it's so fucking, I mean, he's fucking raping my mother within months after that. when she has a leg granddaughter. It's so crazy because the very little things that I remember about my mother is the only things that before she died. She's not. They poisoned her and got her twins to contaminate everything. There could have been a more victory on what they did. There's no justice. Like, how do you separate other than just have somebody else pay for it? And they just had me pay for it. They just had me suffer and pay for it. It's fucking worthless, racist Ku Klux Klan and, the blacks and the whites, and then they do it for the Mexicans, it's the transgenders and it's all of the gays. And that's all it was. It's so fucked up because they control, the gays and the transgenders control everything. They control every fucking thing. And it's the beatings of the electronic devices, it's the faggots that are doing this, and transgenders. They're so intelligent. They're all of them are the hackers. All of them are the computer geniuses. All of them are the scientists. Most of them are doctors. Most of them are in politics. All of them are in Hollywood. I mean, it's nothing. It's fucking... Anyway, let's start off with the whole DJ career stuff. It is so unfair. I couldn't express enough how they're trying. I'm not allowed to talk and say anything.